Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you.
Excellent. Yeah. So we'll try this again. This is take 2. So this is the Extreme Improv podcast. My name is David Pustansky, and today on the show I'm joined by Stephanie Herrera. How are you, Stephanie?
Excellent. So excited to be here.
Fantastic. So, Stephanie, if I've understood this correct, you're in Canada, Toronto, is that right?
I am. I'm just a little east of Toronto, Canada, so it's a nice, bright, early morning for me. What time is it there?
For me, it is 2:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, there you go. It's 9:30 in the morning.
Perfect time to have your teeth out if you go to a dentist. 2:30, as the old joke goes.
Is it?
Well. So, Stephanie, just to begin with, on today's show, we'll play a few improv games. We'll chat a little bit about improv. Just tell us and our listeners a little bit about your history with improv, what kind of stuff you do, where you do it, who you do it with, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, sure. I'll kind of try to compress it as brief as I can. So
we want the long version.
We want the long version. Awesome. So, well, it all started with I'm an actor as well, voiceover person, musical theater, that kind of thing. And then one day my sister said, "Hey, there's an improv show for $5 or whatever it was. Do you want to go down?" And it was at the time, I don't know if you guys have heard of Theater Sports. It is, so it's a theater. It was Theater Sports Toronto. So we went and we laughed our heads off. She said, "Hey, did you like that?" And I said, "It was amazing." She said, "They have a free drop-in on Saturday. Do you want to go?" And I said, "Sure." And then I was hooked. So we started going to that Saturday class, and then I got really then they said, "You really need to take more of the advanced classes." So I started taking those. And then I said, screw it, went to Second City, did all the programs at the same time. So I was doing master classes at Theater Sports, doing Second City. And within the first year I was on stage, within the first year we were performing. Wow. That was what was great about Theater Sports Toronto is as soon as you're taking classes, they encourage you to get on stage. So usually it was the first half of the show. They do a couple games, and then the more advanced people would do the second half. So by the time I was, well into my first year, I was in the second half with the main stage people. I was at Second City finishing up my conservatory. I auditioned for a cross-cultural scholarship and got it, which saved me a lot of money, which was
fantastic.
Nice. And then from there, it was just a lot of opportunities opened. I worked with a lot of really great people that are sort of prevalent. I mean, again, we're talking on the other side of the world practically here, but there's a lot of some great TV shows that I'm not even sure if you guys get, but they're doing very, very well. One of the ones that I know.
Who are some of the people?
Yeah. So, well, there's a show called, I don't know if you guys have heard it, Baroness von Sketch. Have you heard of this yet? It's an all-woman sketch show.
Baroness von Sketch. No,
Baroness
I've never heard
von Sketch. Yeah, it's just got into the United States, so it's available now on Netflix. And it's started by a group of women, and one of the women I went to university with, and she was a second stage main player, so she's doing very well. I've got some friends like Lauren Ash. She was on she's on what's that show called Superstore. She was also on another show with Rebel Wilson from Pitch Perfect.
Okay,
I think she's Aussie. So she's doing very well. And then just because I'm Canadian, I'm in this nice little bubble of improv people. I had the opportunity to meet Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And he became a good friend of mine. So every year he comes out, as I mentioned, I'm east of Toronto. So I'm not downtown Toronto, I'm east, where we have no improv. And when I moved out here to raise a family and be a normal person with a home instead of an apartment somewhere, I started the improv community east of the city. So Colin comes in once a year. So I get to get up on stage with a beautiful, huge crowd because people come out when it's Colin Mockery.
I bet they do.
We get to do a great show and have that. And then I can really invite some great caliber improvisers from Toronto to come out as well and show my town a really good time. It just from there, I got to work with a lot of really cool people. I work with a gentleman, Michael Gelman. If people do not know Michael Gelman, he is the grandpapa of improv. He created long form improv. Yeah. His first troupe was with Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, some people that you might have heard of. He is one of the 4 founders of the Second City Training Center.
Certainly.
Started in Chicago. Cool. So Michael Gelman is now here in Canada. He said, screw it, get to the States. He said, I can't deal with this place anymore. Came to Canada and has made quite a name for himself here as well. So I work with him a lot. I study with him. He's absolutely fantastic. But he has trained, worked with, directed, you name it, with most. So if you name Will Ferrell, Steve Carell, Tina Fey, everybody will say Michael Gelman is the be all and end all, and he's here. So he's right in my backyard, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
To the point where, and then I'll do my pitch. So then it got me to the point where I'm like, hey, there's no books really on
look at this.
improv.
Check you out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I wrote a book because
Stephanie,
I
Stephanie, hold,
thought,
hold
yes.
fire there. Hold fire for 1 second. We
David.
we will get to the book. We will get to the plug. We love all
Oh,
this
okay.
stuff. We're not on a strict time limit here, so we can get all of this in. I do
Beautiful.
want to know about the book. I'm very interested
Yeah.
in that. But I just wanted to unpack a little bit of what you said there. Oh, but you know what? That's amazing. What's his name? Michael Gelman?
Michael Gelman, Gellman,
Gelman.
Gelman.
I will look him
Fantastic.
up.
Look him up. Oh, he's fantastic. Yeah.
It's amazing though that so many people get into improv and they don't necessarily know the history of it. A lot of people, I can say, a lot of people, especially in the United Kingdom, audience members, people who perform may know more about the history of things, but people who perform, it's the beginning and end starts with whose lines it anyway. So, and you mentioned
Exactly.
Colin, yeah, absolutely. Colin Mockery, who you mentioned. I've never met Colin, but my little story of Colin Mockery is he's a fantastic person on Twitter, and he's retweeted about extreme improv for us a few times. So it always opens it up to new people. So if you are ever listening
Absolutely.
to this, Colin Mockery, thank you very much. And
Yay,
Stephanie,
Colin. Oh, he is
thank
the
you very much as
most
well.
humble, gracious person ever to work with, and so easy to work with on stage. And it's one of these things where when I was started teaching improv, it's one of those things when people would say, "Oh, I could never be that funny. I could never do what you do. I can't be as funny as Colin." And I said, "But anybody can. Everyone has the skills, or at least the creativity. We're all born with this great imagination and creativity. We start to doubt ourselves, then we start getting inside our head, and then we're trying to think of what's the next thing to talk about." And I'm like, all they're doing on the show is listening and reacting, and
Abs-
that's so
Absolutely,
anybody can do this.
um, even Colin Mockery watching as a fan, like whose lines it anyway. Well, an interesting thing, whether you knew this or not, whose lines it anyway actually started as a British show. Are
I
you aware?
watched it as a child. I
Yeah,
watched it very late
absolutely.
at night. Loved it.
And then it obviously went over to United States and it took off much bigger. But an interesting thing on the subject of Colin Mockery and how people can hope to reach his skill level and all that is a lesson I often tell people when I'm directing or teaching improv is an observation of Colin Mockery. And when you watch some of the early Whose Lines It Anyway stuff, and it would come up to like a singing game or anything where he'd have to sing.
Yes.
Colin's go-to thing would be that he would pretend to faint and get himself out of singing as
He
quickly as humanly
hated
possible.
doing that thing. Yeah.
But I tell you what, then you watch after about season 1 or 2 of the United States version, he's one of the best like doing the improv singing.
Yeah, actually, and it is. He's to this day he says he loathes doing the hoedown singing, loathes it.
Absolutely.
But it's like exactly like you say. You do it for how many years? You're going to get good at it. Like they said, that term, that 100 hour, no, what is it, 1,000 hours? You're going to be an expert at anything, right? So he's
Yeah.
definitely got to that 1,000 hours of having to sing that damn hoedown.
The 1,000 hours. I
For
thought that was like the amount of hours you needed to like pilot a plane or something. Or I might
to
just
be
be.
an expert in anything, to be an
Oh,
expert in
really?
anything, you need to put in 1,000 hours. So if you want to play tennis really well, if you want to do anything, if you put in 1,000 hours of practice, you will be good at it. And most people about 100 and they're like, I'm done. So
Yeah.
it's that having that passion and really sticking to it. But I truly believe that absolutely everyone can improvise. I was studying and I also love to be a constant student. I love taking courses. So I will fly to the States if I hear a great person is teaching. And I took a great workshop and met a gentleman named Matt, and he has a show called Matt and with the ampersand symbol,
Yeah.
Matt and, because what he does is I met him in a class with oh my God, his name escaped me. Shame on
Oh
me.
dear.
Scott Adsit. There it is.
Okay.
Scott Adsit. If you ever watched 30 Rock, did you guys watch 30 Rock
So it did come over here. I didn't really
okay.
get into it myself.
Okay, well, Tina Fey in the show has a
Yeah.
best friend in the show, a bit of a balding guy. That's Scott Adsit. I had no idea he was, but I should have known. Most of these people came up through improv. So
Yeah.
I flew down to the States, took a course from Scott Adsit, and he really got me into really paying attention to things that we as improvisers avoid. And so in his master workshop, we did things that annoyed him, which I loved. So he said the first thing is when you're in a scene in improv, people tend to avoid kissing. There's a beautiful moment and then they avoid the kiss. And he said,
Yes.
so we're going to do scenes where where we're kissing, and we were complete strangers getting together in scenes and finding a way and actually kissing. And it was really quite liberating to do this, because I'm the type, I'm like, oh, I am an actor, so I can cheat on my husband. It's great. I get paid. So I had no problem.
Yeah,
And
I've had
girls,
lots of conversations with my girlfriend about why I mustn't do that. So
yeah, my husband's like, meh, I met her as an actress. He met me when I was in a musical. I kissed three guys in the musical Fame. So he's like, I'm kind of used to it now. My wife does
absolutely.
that. And there were things that bothered him about certain things. So when Colin, I actually had him come out a couple times and teach with me. And when Colin was like, what do we teach? And I said, well, I loved how Scott said, what bothers? So what bothers you? So we just picked some things that really irritate us that improvisers do, and then we made them do it. And it was a great workshop. So it's also sometimes, and that's another reason I wrote the book, was it's sort of like, what are the things that I constantly see over and over again, and no one's correcting it? So Scott, and in Scott's class, there was, going back to my original thought, in Scott's class, I met this gentleman named Matt, who he said he saw Scott do a show once where he pulled someone who had never improvised a day in their life up on stage to do a game with him. And Matt saw that, and he said how brilliant it was. So he does an entire show. At the beginning of his show, he says, hi, how many people, this is their first time seeing improv? And then one or two people. And he goes, hi, would you come up here on stage with me? And they do the entire show with him.
Wow.
And it's amazing. So I said, Matt, can I use your format? And he said, absolutely. He has a group on Facebook all over the world. People are doing this technique, and we kind of bring ideas. If we know other people's shows, or articles about it, we'll give to each other. And I did it a couple times, and it is amazingly hilarious to see the brilliance that just drops out of people's mouths when you're like, you know what? It's all on me. You can try to throw me off. I'm gonna dance around you, and you just be you. And they're brilliant, showing anybody that they can do it. So I'm a huge believer in this.
Fantastic. Okay, so Stephanie, let's play an improv game.
Yay!
Are you up for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've had coffee.
Yeah, excellent. You know what? I normally like throw some up myself, but what are some of your favorite short form improv games?
I guess the short form games, I love Pillars.
What is Pillars?
Pillars is probably what you guys, there's different options. It's sort of different names for everything. That's the one when you bring up audience members and they just sit in a chair and they fill in the blanks. So you start a sentence like, I sure feel like and you tap their shoulder. I love that game. That's also options. You might have seen that when people say, and they reach to the audience and kind of go, fill it in, fill it in. For a two-hander, that's a little trickier. Oh, and Should Have Said. I love that game. Should Have Said is the one when somebody's off to the side, two people are in the middle of a scene, and at any point that person that has the ability to say should have said, they yell at should have said, and whoever said the last sentence has to change it immediately. So that person starts saying
change or new choice.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the line. We usually just say should have said. And you can hit somebody like 3-4 times in a row, and suddenly the subconscious comes out and the funniest stuff drops out. It's not what you had in your back pocket. It's not the most logical thing. And then suddenly you're saying, I'm tired, should have said. I'm angry, should have said. I eat kittens. Ugh. Like other weird stuff starts dropping out.
I think we should use that as a basis for a game. Now, obviously, there's two of us, so it doesn't get too confusing with the back and forth conversation of the should have said. Maybe we should tackle this as a little bit of a monologue game.
Ooh.
So, Stephanie, I'm going to challenge you to a monologue. And let's put let's put a timer on it. So we often play games in Extreme Improv to a 1 minute or 90-second limit, and we can freestyle it between the two if So I'm going to choose for you. So one of the things we also do on the show is a previous guest will choose a character for a future player. And let's hope you're familiar with this. It's quite a well-known character, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You are Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and let's say your situation is you have lost your stake. So the stake that was used to kill vampires. Yeah. Okay. And at any point, I guess I will say should have said. Okay. And you'll have to, for the listeners out there, if you just want to get the rules again, if I say should have said, then the last sentence will be erased from the script, and Stephanie will come up with a new choice for that. So, and Stephanie,
you can say should have said in a couple of times to me and really throw me off. That would be great. Go for it.
I
you don't like what I changed it with.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. We'll give this a go. So, Stephanie, you are Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You have lost your stake. And in your own time, take it away.
OMG. I can't believe the greatest vampire slayer in the entire world just lost her stake. I am freaking out, guys.
Should have said.
I am so excited, guys. This is giving me an opportunity to show you my detective skills in my pretty
Should have
little...
said.
Yeah, I'm going to show you my detective skills in my pretty little boobies.
Should have said.
I'm going to show you my detective skills in my pretty little eyeballs. Oh, I'm going to look at all these great shoes I own. Oh, you know what tells me to find stakes? Putting the right pumps on.
Should have said.
That's the only way to find a stake is to put the right sneakers on.
Should have said.
To put the right clogs on.
Should have said.
I'm going to put the right Jesus sandals on.
Love it.
Oh, I am now not only the killer of vampires, but my own deity. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Jesus sandals, go. Let's take a look around. Wait a minute. I sense vampires.
Should have said.
Oh, I sense werewolves.
Should have said.
I sense fairies. I don't like fairies. They're prettier than me. So if I don't have a stake to kill the fairies, I'm going to have to use something else. I know. I'll grab this wooden spoon.
Should have said.
I'm going to grab this fork.
Should have said.
I'm going to grab this banana. Yes. Okay, fairies, they all absolutely hate potassium. So here goes. Unpeeling. Okay, take that, fairies.
And scene. We'll stop you there. Well done.
Yay.
That's a great game. Really great game.
Coffee.
Yeah. Love it. What I love on it as well is when the new choices, the should have said's, go to something completely random. So from a fork, we went to a spoon, and then it was a banana, and it's like that's not something you find in the kitchen drawer. Yeah, well, it might be. It'll go off if you do, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And now we know about Jesus sandals, so that's awesome.
Absolutely. Best way to describe them. When you play that as well, one of the things I love to see happen is, I think as an audience member, you really feel for the actor on stage when they get 3 or 4 new choices, and they're like, what else can I possibly come up with?
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that I remind people. A lot of times people that take the class for the first time, they're so scared. And one of the reasons is because public speaking is the number one fear of humans. The biggest thing that people are mortified to do is make a mistake. So what's beautiful about improv is you make mistakes, and the audience loves you for it. Because if everyone got up and could do the alphabet game and do all these things perfectly, what's the point? We want to see people fail. We're morbid creatures. So I love that wonderful of that panic. We love to see the panic.
I always tell performers, if I'm like teaching or directing, I was like, this is why people love the blooper reel on the DVDs. It's why they love. I'm trying to think. We have a show in the UK called Auntie's Bloomers. I don't know what and it's where you see all of them. It's all of the mistakes from TV shows. I'm trying to think what the equivalent. I don't know in Canada, but the United States. What is it called?
Yeah, we just call it the blooper reel. Like you just YouTube blooper reel for every movie, and you can. And Friends has that. Like all the TV shows, they all have their blooper reels.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so Stephanie, I think I've made you wait long enough. Let's get on to your book. Let's find out a little bit about the book, and then we'll play some more improv games.
So this kind of came, as I mentioned, there wasn't really any great textbooks other than our original like Viola Spolin and things that are like the ones that came from teaching aids, really, that weren't as kind of useful in the sense, but more importantly, entertaining. So I came up with a book, and it is called The 10 Commandments. And here you go. So there's my Moses on the cover. 10 Commandments of Improvising. Colin was gracious enough to do a nice foreword for me. So Colin Mockery's foreword is in there as well. And what it does is it's just taking my general 10 most crucial things that are important in improv. So it starts with, thou shalt say yes. And it goes on right to, thou shalt follow the double standard. Thou shalt take risks. thou shalt speak the truth and be good at lying, things like that. So
Yep.
these are sort of things that are really great. So at the beginning of each chapter, it's written in script. It's from the God of Improv, saying in sort of that biblical term, it's still pretty funny. And then it goes into regular font with me explaining, giving examples. And then at the end of the book, there's a glossary. There are games, suggested games for individuals to groups, just kind of getting the juices flowing and working on what I taught in the chapters.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come into a little bit of that in a second, but you missed one very important thing, Stephanie.
Which is,
Where can people get the book?
where can people buy this? Well, everyone, you can go. The website is the Ten Commandments of Improvising.com, or they can go to, which is linked to my website, stephanieherrera.com, and that's Herrera. stephanieherrera.com. Traditional spelling, PH, none of these F's. People always say, is your name with an F? I'm like, no, traditional spelling, STEPHANIE.
Yep.
Yeah, Ten Commandments of Improvising.com will get you there as well. Yeah, and it's available for purchase, and I just mail it out.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so a few things there. Let's find out about this book because
Sure.
it sounds really useful. First of all, who is the guy on the front? Who is that?
The
It
guy
always
on the
interests
front,
me.
another David. There's a lot of Daves. Do you guys know
Yeah,
the song "These Are the Daves I Know"? I know. Have you heard
I
the Kids in
I
the
don't know
Hall?
that. I'm gonna
It's a
again.
great song. So there is a sketch troupe that was probably they were inspired by Monty Python, like most people were. They were the
Yeah,
Canadian grandpas of sketch. They were called the Kids in the Hall, and they did things like the movie Brain Candy, News Radio. That's one of our Kids in the Hall. Like they're just everywhere. The actors, they're great sketches. They wrote a song called "These Are the Daves I Know, I Know." If you look that up on YouTube, it's great. Anybody can sing that song because you know it. So this is another David.
yeah.
David, it was one of my improv students. So when I was writing the book, I came up with the concept. I'm like, I want Moses with the tablets. Who do I know that looks like Moses? So I asked him. He said, absolutely. Grew out his beard a bit for me. He had the beautiful gray hair. So we did the photo shoot. Unfortunately, David passed away from
Oh,
cancer a couple years ago. But his wife is delighted that he's immortalized on the cover of the book,
yeah.
which,
No.
which is
Do you know
great.
what? I didn't expect that sad part of the story, but that's a really beautiful thing that he is
Yeah.
immortalized with the book. So,
Absolutely.
so
And such a cute one too. And I always said if I ever did a sequel with the book, I have another one with him holding both tablets and going, ooh, like a cute little face. And I said, if I ever want to do another one, I'll call it another Ten Commandments kind of thing and have him bring out some more. So yeah.
absolutely. So to get into a little bit of the content, you said one of the commandments, "Thou shalt say yes," was it?
Yes, yes. Thou shalt
Okay.
say yes is one of the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about yes and as they drill into everyone within the world of improv. Because it's amazing working with people that perhaps are at college or university who haven't done a lot of improv.
Yep.
How it's not an easy concept for some people to get. People will block. So
Yeah.
let's hear a few of your thoughts, Stephanie, on the power of saying yes.
Absolutely. Well, I love the beginning your improv journey, and that's why they always explain it as yes and is the golden rule they call it, and all that to get people started. I explain in the chapter that it's the critical importance of it. It moves story along. It acknowledges your scene partner. They taken care of, because the worst thing you can do is, hey, let's build a robot, and your scene partner goes no,
Nope.
and then suddenly you're like, okay, well then you think of something. Then you're both just glaring at each other on stage. It doesn't
Absolutely.
move anything. So it's just gonna be easier if you say yes. But what I also talk about is yes applies to you as well, because some people are like, but what if they're like, let's be strippers, and I have to say yes and I'm not comfortable. I'm like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Yes and also applies to yourself. So if you don't feel comfortable or you have a reaction, remember, improv is just acting and reacting, right? So I
Hmm.
use an example where they're at a lunch table, they're in a scene, it's a break, and a guy says, oh, what are you eating? And he says kitten sandwiches. And you can see on the girl's face, she's mortified. But as the improviser, she says, oh, and he says, do you want to bite? And she, as an improviser, goes, I have to say yes. You see on her face, she's mortified. And then she goes, yeah, sure, yummy. The audience can see you're lying. So if your
Yes.
truth is you're saying yes to yourself, if you're going, oh my God, then the scene is more interesting. If she's like, that's disgusting, he starts now trying to convince her, oh, but kitten meat has been proven to, reduce fat. And she'll go, wait a minute, what did you say? And now it's a scene trying to convince somebody to eat a kitten sandwich versus hey, do you want some? And seeing it, because the thing is, the audience does not miss anything. They see everything. So you have to be truthful. If you feel horrified about something, bring it to the surface, make light of it. It's not you're saying no, you're saying yes to yourself, which is really
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with all that. And one of the things, like the idea of saying no, I've said this. I've had this debate with students. And I've said it's not strictly the word no. It's not that your character can never say no. It's that you
Mhm.
don't block an idea. If someone gives you an idea, you go with it. And if a character if the character was going to eat the kitten and they want to block themselves and it will kill the scene, then don't do it. But if it could be like if there was a no that they were then going to, it's no because I am a secret kitten myself or something. So that's
Yeah, add to it. Yeah, you still
yeah, add to
adding.
it. You add absolutely. That's the best way of expressing it. You add on an idea,
Absolutely.
and people think that no, like it's not. We say yes because it's such a easy way of expressing it, but it's really saying don't block ideas. Embrace them.
Absolutely. But I always say too, like trust your instincts. So if your instinct is hell, I'm not doing that, then at least have it. But yeah, back it up. Like, oh my God, because the audience will see it. The audience will see that
Yes.
you're not comfortable and all that. So go with your instincts because then there's justifying exactly like you said.
Yeah.
I could not possibly eat kittens. Absolutely not. Why? Like, because unzip and because
I'm
meow,
a kid.
I am kit whatever. I'm Catwoman, whatever.
Exactly.
So that's beautiful. So that's at least you have to keep going with the story. And then it gets more interesting that way if everyone's just honest and doing their first instincts, right? The other thing I really like about the concept of no is that besides justifying it, you also have the opportunity to convince somebody to do something. And that's so
Yes.
interesting because, and there's another exercise I got from one of my advanced teachers that I use in my classes, which you literally write down on a piece of paper ways of convincing somebody. So you could beg, borrow, steal. I usually use as an example, but people use their sexuality. They threaten people. Like just write them down and like six of them, and then you at the top, it's something that you want from somebody else. So then in a two-person scene, somebody will go through something that they want. The other person's all their objection. They have to say no to everything. No, no, and they can find a reason why, but they're just saying no, no, no. So it could be anything from, "Hey, can I
Yeah.
borrow money?" which is really simple, to "Can I get a hug?" Like they want something from the person. And it's amazing. Then all I do is sit at the side and go switch. Switch. So when one thing isn't working, they have to switch. And it's hilarious to see at one point when someone's like, David, you look really good. Oh my God. So I noticed your new car. I was wondering if I could drive it. And if you said no,
No.
and I say, and then I hear switch, then I'm like, you know what? I don't even fucking want to. Like, so watching these people have this multi personality, and then I'm screaming at you, and then I hear switch. I'm like, you know what? I don't even want it. Keep it. You know what? I'm not even interested in.
Yeah.
So again, we've learned all these. So we call the game is called tactics. So reminding everybody that there are different ways of getting things, and that's a much more interesting scene than somebody going, "Can I have it? No, please, no. Come on, no, please, no." That's boring. But if you have somebody
Yes.
that's going through using their sexuality and flattering and threatening and crying and doing all these things in a scene, it's all about humanity. And that's what people really want to see. They want to see real relationships on stage. They don't want to see construction workers building a wall. They want to hear about the construction workers' girlfriends and boyfriends and wives and
Absolutely.
everything. That's what we
So
want
you
to
know
hear
what?
about.
That's such a key thing with storytelling as well, because I often give this example when you have a adaptation. Well, I say an adaptation, a telling of the story of the Titanic, and like there's the famous film. They had to create Jack and Rose, even though
Mm-hmm.
they were not really there, because if they just show a disaster, it lacks the human element. If you see construction workers, they're just construction workers. You need to humanize them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah, relationships
let's
are huge, man.
let's see if we can put some of this idea into practice. Let's do a scene. Let's do a classic improv game, an alphabet scene, an ABC scene.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
boy.
So, Stephanie, you may choose our scenario. Where are we? Who are we?
How about we are gosh, how about a job interview? Those are always nice.
Yep, certainly. Are we going to decide what kind of job
No, we'll
beforehand, or
figure it out as we're doing our alphabet,
we'll
probably.
figure it out? Okay. And let's say we're going to one in the true classic form. I'll give us 90 seconds to see if we can end on the same letter we started at. And let's say we're going to start at the letter H. So that H for Harry. So sorry. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to go, and now do you play it the same way I play it? We start with H, we have to go all the way back, and the scene is ended on H again. That's how I usually
absolutely.
play.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's where we play. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so we're going to start at H, and here we go. Hello there. How are you today, madam?
I am absolutely fine. So tell me, why exactly do you want to work here?
Juliet is a good friend of mine, and she recommended that I should get my hands dirty.
Know what? Juliet is one of our best employees. You know what? If she recommends you, I'm in. But I want to get through a couple questions.
Like what kind of questions exactly?
Marcus, sometimes there are questions that I'm really sometimes afraid to ask people.
Nora, may I call you Nora? Don't be afraid. Just ask the question.
Okay, Marcus. Do you date other employees on a regular basis?
Quietly between you and I try to. Is that an issue?
Really not the answer I was looking for, Marcus.
Second answer is the truthful one, which is I'd never do that.
Too raw, Marcus. All right, that's a good answer.
Unless that was a double bluff and you actually wanted me to.
Very unusual to be asked out so soon.
Want to go out tonight, Nora?
Sounds. Okay, I don't normally do this, but yes, I will.
Yes, you will. That's so exciting, Nora.
Zenith Company Printing, can I help you? Yes, absolutely. We'll get your order out soon. Sorry about that.
Are you busy on the phone right now?
Yeah, busy as it ever is. Can we just get back to the questions, please?
Can we? Yes, we can.
Do you ever steal from companies?
Every second week. Is that another trick question?
Freaky, isn't it? I do it all the time, too.
Get out of here. What type of stuff do you steal?
Helicopters.
Ta-da! And it turns out, within our final sentence, that we sell helicopters here, quite possibly.
We sell and steal them at Zenith.
Yeah. Paid over the 90-second time of that.
I think we lost P too there.
Did we actually? That's amazing. Oh wow, taking the P out of the scene. So there you go. So okay, let's move on a little bit in the conversation. So tell us, you mentioned when you first got into improv that you were doing theatre sports.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's pretty much the same stuff over here as it is in Canada. But just so we see if we're all on the same page, what is theatre sports in a Canadian perspective?
Theatre sports style were two teams and a referee. Sometimes there's another group that has the essence of theater sports, really the original essence, which was there in hockey jerseys as well. So it's in an arena and it's that kind of stuff, which is great. And it's funny because sometimes teams get, like, the players get traded if they win, and we have to change jerseys and stuff. It's very funny, but it's usually about 3 to 4 usually people per team. Any bigger than that, it's usually chaos. So usually they're pretty small, and then the audience, by round of applause, has to assign who won that particular game, that challenge. So sometimes they're like with the alphabet game, so a word challenge or a physical challenge, that kind of stuff. We accept, and then they battle it out with the audience voting. I've seen it where they've had judges giving rates as well, and then they get an audience member to be a judge with actual cards that say the number they're awarding. So that's kind of the theater sports. It's all short form games. Sometimes they say a challenge is open scene, and then they just grab a suggestion, and that's how they get an open scene in there as well. So that was just short form games, I started really veering towards long form because when I started, there was really no long form that we knew about in
Yeah,
Toronto.
certainly.
We learned after things like the Herald and like the longer forms, but no one was teaching it at that time. So I had a musical accompanist friend who would come in and we would do the short form games and the hoedowns and all that kind of stuff. So he taught us how to rhyme faster, kind of finding things like that. But he developed a
Okay,
format that
so
it's been, yeah.
just to pick up on that, so what is one of because this is one of the ones that often comes up. What are some tips or techniques you can suggest on how to
Sure.
rhyme faster?
Yeah, there's one great thing that he taught us. All you're doing is when you get your topic, like if it was Christmas,
Yes.
you think of the first thing that comes to your mind when you think Christmas. So if it's snow, then you're going to go, great, snow, blow, got it. So when it comes to you, all you know is you're going to start with snow and then get the words in the middle and end with blow, and
Yeah,
you just know
that's
your rhyming thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best technique I can say.
yeah,
You get your keyword first because it
yeah.
relates to the topic, and then because the thing is, if the rhyme was outside I see snow, so now I need to go, then it rhymes and it's perfectly good. But
Mhm.
if you're singing about the theme of Christmas and you say, think I've got to go because outside I see snow, then to the audience the key word, the magical word has come second and it seems cleverer. And
Wow, you're taking it to the next level.
yeah,
I just
but
think like take two words and figure out while you're talking. That's the improv, right? I don't know how I'm
yes,
going to get from snow to blow, but just I know that the rhythm is four, like the
yeah,
timing that I have to get in. So figure it out while you're doing it. And that's the beautiful
absolutely.
thing. Instead of figuring out, because a lot of times you don't listen to the person ahead of you if you're trying to rhyme your whole sentence in your head. Just relax, fit it in, like Colin does it. I really, really hate it. I really, really
Really
do. I
do.
really, 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 really do. Like he knows how many beats are in. So
Yes,
just fill it all in. That's improv. That's true improv. Surprise yourself, which is really
absolutely.
so. I love that particular game. And then he got into we he formatted this musical. So we would create musicals out of thin air. The format that he had was 5 people, and we would go to the audience and we would ask them, where is a place you would find a lot of people? And the first suggestion, that's always something that was ingrained in my head, the first suggestion you have to take. I've always come from that. So the first
Yes.
suggestion yelled at, we would grab, and we would say, so we got Oktoberfest, the subway, all these different ones. And we'd say, right, the circus. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the circus, the musical. And then the lights would go down, they'd come up, the music would start. Each of the 5 players would step forward with a little bit of a song. And then the first person would find the chorus that everyone would add to. So eventually we're all singing the chorus at the end. Then they divide. So you have 5, they divide. So the 2 people say, hey, I love the balloon. Can I have the balloon? Yeah, sure, kid, over here. They walk off stage. Then another 2 get together and say, oh, so bearded woman, can I, talk to you about whatever? They walk off, and then that leaves one person. That one person every night would get the monologue and the song on their own. So they would
Wow.
monologue, and then every scene ends in a song. So then after their song, big round of applause. Then we see the first 2 people that left, their scene ends in a song. Then we'd see the other 2. And then it was a free for all. All the characters started mixing together. And we finally all are on stage at the end. So usually a villain would come out of here. Everyone has a motive, a dream. Every scene ends in a song. So we have a full musical by the end of it. It was a great format. And it's been borrowed and used. I don't want to say
Yeah.
stole, but it's been borrowed by so many groups
Everyone
that is the
borrows.
standard. Yeah, that's the standard of musical improv now in Toronto, that if you go see a musical, you're guaranteed opening number, usually 5 characters. They will go off separate ways. Every scene ends in a song. Like he loved musical theater, so he figured out exactly all of the dynamics of what goes into musical theater, and then we just make it up on the spot, and people loved us for it. And at that
Brilliant.
point, though, when rhyming, we got to the point where rhyming didn't matter. It was about
Yes.
the emotion. And what he really reminded me was, in musicals, sometimes you see this even with games. Somebody, and they're like, sounds like a song, or whatever game you're playing, they sing exactly what they just said. They recap everything in a song. That's not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get yourself to an emotion
Yeah.
that you can't continue except through song. It's so
Yeah.
powerful. And then in the singing, you usually discover things. You should be discovering information that now moves you to go into the next scene. So I remember the first time it was a train station, and I was watching, like, corner of my eye, everyone's leaving. Oh my God, this is my night. Everyone had to get their cherry popped of going, I have to do a scene by myself. And so they'd leave, and I was just started talking to a picture of my cat in my booth, in my ticket booth. And then I said, people are going everywhere and I'm not going anywhere. And then the sad music started. And so I started singing, and through the song, I decided to take things into my own hand. I opened the safe, I stole all the money, and I left. Like, I basically, like, I'm going to see the world. So in my song, I discovered that I'm the thief and I'm going to go off and go all over the world and travel, kind of thing. So that's what people forget to do, and the purpose of singing, which is
it's when you just see a musical, the characters, it is like a monologue. It's in place of the monologue. It's the characters. It shouldn't just be exposition of where they are, what the scene's about. You might get an opening. You might get like an opening musical number which establishes like a town or a school or something like this. But
a couple characters, that's fine.
Yeah, but beyond that, like the best, like when people say what's my song that I should use for an audition, it'll always be a character song where it's an emotional journey. And so another fantastic tip there.
Yeah, okay, and rhyming goes out the window. Just to remind everyone, rhyming goes out the window, because then you'll be singing about fish, dish, and wish. Don't worry about rhyming at that point. Just come from your heart. Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's play another improv game, if you're okay for a few more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is going to be another scene between us, and it's going to be a single syllable scene. So the way this one works, if you have or haven't played it before, is everything we say has to be words of one syllable. So the sentences can be as long as we like, but for example, you can say hi, but you cannot say hello. You can say Dave, but you cannot say David. So the restriction is that all of the words you say have to be words of one syllable.
This. Woo, this is good. Okay.
You know what? I'm not going to lie, Stephanie. I'm a little bit excited by that, because to the best of our knowledge, it's an original game for Extreme Improv, and so we try to always innovate. And that's cool if an experienced pro like yourself hasn't come across this one yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's throw in an element each. So I will say that we are at a rodeo.
Oh.
We're at a rodeo, and Stephanie, if you could suggest perhaps something unusual to be happening at the rodeo today.
How about unusual? How about a goat? Like Best in Show, but for goats. Like, what can we call that? A goat show? I don't know.
I think that would be called GOAT, because isn't GOAT now an abbreviation for greatest of all time?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, GOAT.
You youngins and your language.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so this is the Best in Show for goats at this rodeo. So the one tip I always give with this, I'm sure you'll cope with it, is try not to let the conversations go circular, and just try to keep the flow going, because we sometimes find that someone will be say, look, the box is there is the box. It's like, we know about the box. Okay, so let's have fun with it. We'll see what happens. And again, let's say there's a 2-minute time limit to this scene. We are at the rodeo, and there is a Best in Show for goats, and here we go.
Oh, Jeb, my goat is hot.
Your goat is so hot. I tell ya, if I were a goat, I would be all on that right now.
Jeb, hell yeah.
Hey, sis, do you think that me and that goat, we could make it?
Make it how, Jeb?
Well, not like that. I just meant win the show. Not like a bad thing.
Win for show, Jeb. Now, you need to get a book.
What book do I need?
Book.
Now, sis, you know I don't read. You know I don't read good. So can you sound out?
My bad, Jeb. My bad.
Help me with the big words. Some of them have got many parts.
True. Okay. I have my book of love of goats. When you have a goat, you must brush that goat. Jeb, did you brush the goat?
I did not brush the goat.
Oh, Jeb! Jeb the goat! Oh.
I'm Sars. I did not know that that this goat would need a brush on this day.
Goat, Jeb. Brush the goat, Jeb. Brush the goat.
I don't have a brush. Can we use your hand? Your hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
My hand. I will brush the goat. Jeb, next is you must kiss the goat.
Once more? Or do you mean... Yeah, like...
Kiss the goat?
Twice.
On a reg basis?
On the lips. On the base. On the base of its lips, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeb, I think we have more to talk about than just the...
We got more to talk about than the... What?
Your love of this goat, Jeb, is...
It is bad. And see, that's again a little bit over. Oh dear. Straight into the bestiality we went there. Oh dear, indeed.
Oh, very good.
What did you think of the game?
It was easy. Yeah, it was easier than I thought. I thought we were going to sound like cavemen the whole time.
Yes, there is the one thing which I hate, like a rule I'll often put on it in a show is a hesitation rule. So you can't hesitate for too long, because the challenge of it for the audience is that everyone's got to try and say words of one syllable in it, and it can be tricky. And then inevitably we'll find scenes that are underwater or out of space, and everyone is speaking so slow, and it makes it so easy. And it's like, I need to fix this. So we put in the hesitation rule.
That's great. It's very similar to Numbers. Have you played the Numbers game where people in the scene get a number from the audience, a number between 1 and 10. So inevitably one person gets a 1, somebody gets 10, and then 5. Yeah, and so you speak on your hand the number of words. So again, you can't think of what you're doing. You start talking, and if you run out, somebody can fill in. Yeah. The always the gold comes from the person with the 1, because everyone's talking, and then they go to them, and then they get that 1 word. They always get the laugh. They're waiting for one.
Absolutely. I did a number of words game at a show last year, and I had the one word, and it meant I had to do like interpretive dance to express what I was saying and all sorts. And then someone would say, "Sorry, David, can you elaborate on that further?" And I'm like, "Certainly." And then I start dancing. Okay, so I've lost my train of thought on that one.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, don't worry. Tell us more about your book. That's a... Ooh, if in doubt, let's go to the plug.
Sure. I guess it was... Well, I mentioned that it was something that came out of things that bothered me about people.
Yes, okay, so to ask a question
let's talk about things that bother. Yeah.
I was actually going to say, what was the point where you decided to write the book? What was the actual genesis, the moment?
You know what? Interestingly enough, it's because I do a lot of hosting, a lot of keynote addresses, a lot of corporate workshops. That's a big bread and butter is teaching. So I would be invited to do, particularly with keynote addresses, just come, tell the importance of creativity, whatever you want to do, stuff. And then they always ask me, "Do you have a book?" Because we're going to have all the speakers have their book for sale. And I'm like, no. I kept saying no and no. And then I'd go to these events, and then the keynote would come up. They weren't as good as me, but they had a book. And I went, so to get paid double, all I need is a book. And then I can be published author, blah, blah, blah. And so I literally did it for cred and for an opportunity to sell my book, to sell.
Do you know what, Stephanie? Do you know, if anything, do you know what that has now made me realize?
What?
I need a book. I need to write a book. I need a book.
It's not a huge book. It took a while, and I worked with 2 editors. And lucky for me, and lucky, I guess, because most editors probably aren't improvisers, to have fresh eyes. Like we forget about that. We're like, oh yeah, this game, and they're like, I'm not sure. That I had to really go over a lot of, and that's a lot of the steps, a lot of the language. They're like, you have to dumb this down for somebody that has not even dumb, but really get specific. And so to the point that one of the editors said, I think we need a glossary of terms. Like everybody in improv realizes. And then at the end, both of the editors said, I think this isn't just for improv. I think this is for life. I'm like, yeah, wow. I love secretly teaching people. If people listen more to each other, if they say yes to things more often, your life is so much easier if you take the rules and apply it to relationships and work relationships and things like that. That they were like, oh my God, this is actually sort of like a self-help book. I'm like, sure. Yeah, it is.
How to improve improv in your life.
That was my other book. It was improve, but the E was in brackets. Improve Your Business is a course that I teach. So there you go. Yeah. Patents pending.
Patents. Well, I'm going to get right in there. No,
you better get your book written by next week.
Okay. So, Stephanie, so one question I like to ask people is, like for an anecdote or something, what's like the worst thing? And it's not like about being negative, but like what's the disaster that happened on stage? What's the suggestion from the audience, or when the performer stepped over the line or tripped off the stage or whatever?
This is a great story because it really this is a question that I've been asked, not the exact question, but people ask me, Stephanie, you are an extrovert. You are somebody, like, what did you get out of improv? Because it seems it comes so naturally to you. What did you learn from it? And I said, I learned something very, very important. We were doing a theater sports show, live audience, and our scene bombed. And I think it was either it just wasn't working, or this was one of the scenes that got into the book where it was a double standard, where Mike, as a female in the scene, I was struck by a man. And unfortunately, there are double standards in improv. And one of them is the woman has to win. No one is paying money to watch a woman get beat up on stage. Sorry, guys, but women, if it's slow-mo commentary and two people are battling it at slow motion, if there's a woman, she has to win. That's just it.
Yeah.
So I'm involved in the scene. There's no laughter. The lights go down. Whether the lighting improviser was like, this is horrible, whatever, went down. There were a few polite, like, it's like just a few lights came back up, and I sat on the side and I went over everything in my head, and I'm like, we should have done it. And I started doing what people do in life. We start going over things. I should have, woulda, coulda, and stressing, but then it's time to get out of your bench. Let it go. We have to keep going. The end of the night, I was mortified to see all my friends that came out, and all they talked about was all the other scenes. Oh my God, when you sang, when you did this, that was so funny. They never mentioned the scene that tanked. And I immediately, this light bulb went off in my head. No one's going to remember your worst scene if you let it go. And the thing is, they're always going to focus on the things that did work. So that's what I got at improv, letting things go. So sometimes in my life, when I'm stressing, I'm like, you know what? Let it go. Scene's moving on. Let's go. So that's something that the worst possible things truly was a learning experience for me.
Absolutely. And that's a really healthy way of looking at it. So when something goes wrong, it's like, how can you turn that into an advantage?
Yeah. And even stand-up comics say this all the time. Several of them that I've heard, they say, oh, I love when I'm bombing. And everyone's like, what? Yeah. You're alone on stage. You have a mic. People are basically booing you out. They're like, I love it. Because now I'm in it, and you're not going to die. Like, that's the beautiful thing. When I teach corporate workshops, at the beginning, I put hand over heart and I do a solemn promise. Because I say, a lot of people, now your hands are sweating, your mouths are going dry now, knowing that you have to do an improv workshop, and people are nodding and giggling and like, they're terrified. And I said, my promise to you is no one will die or explode in this workshop. And then at the end of the workshop, when everyone's like so proud of themselves, they did it, and everyone's like just like on a high note of, wow, that was so amazing. And then I go, oh, and just checking, no one died, no one exploded, and everyone gets a big laugh. So just embrace the fails, embrace the horrible things. Try to, because you're not going to die from it. This is what I say to people. They're like, why do you do this? And I'm like, this is my jumping out of airplanes. I will never go parachuting in my entire life. This is my jumping out. But people love that. They probably won't go in an improv scene.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Say embrace the fails. An observation I've had that I've made to people is, on Extreme Improv, because it's a lot like theatre sports, the show that we're currently doing, where it's got this fake, well, I say fake, like professional wrestling, it's got this competitive edge,
Yeah.
like on Whose Lines It Anyway, where they say the points don't matter.
Yeah.
We have a championship belt, and we up the stakes. Yeah, it's custom made. Um, but we up the stakes. It gives us something else to play with, that we're all the performers are trying to win this belt. But like the first thing in rehearsals I'll say is like the winners really doesn't matter, because there's two ways you win. One, if it's down to audience vote, if your family comes and the other guy's family doesn't come, they're going to win. And then some of the games where it can be more truly competitive, where there are rules where you can see a defined winner or loser. The thing I've told people about, like the power of failing, is that when we're trying to win, the way that we actually win is by entertaining the audience, by making a fun show for everyone. It's not about the actual winning. And sometimes to win, you have to fail. And on some games which are perhaps more competitive, where you can actually win, where if someone was really skilled at a particular game, they could keep playing until the end of time and never be eliminated. The thing I've tried to give over to performers is that when you start doing the scene and you're doing well, the audience will be like, yeah, they're pretty good. Give it another 30 seconds and the audience will all turn on you and want you to lose. And it's not that they're against you, but they'll just be waiting for the person to finally topple you. And so it's a case of, if you don't if you don't want the audience to fully turn on you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because you can play up to that fact, then sometimes you have to throw the fight, sometimes you have to fail, sometimes you have to do the thing which isn't technically the rule, but will keep the scene going, keep it fresh. So just like I said about the circular conversations on the single syllable one, if we were trying to just achieve the rules, we could have just said, look, the goat, there is the goat, and it sounds like we're cavemen. And technically, we have abided by the rules, but it's just not that interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that. I like that of the failing in general. Is I kind of use the example of people like Charlie Chaplin made a career out of failing. He was a clown, and we call it one man advance. I don't know if you guys use that term. Yeah,
no,
so there was a great exercise that I learned in one of the classes that I did a couple times, where you start a scene. So it could be mowing the lawn or making toast, whatever the scene is, and everything you attempt fail, 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 and it's hilarious. The one I did was we were trying to put up a tent, and so that was kind of easy enough to be. Don't have enough poles. The one pole I was pulling out of the bag was way too long, and I just kept pulling this thing out, couldn't get the pole out of the thing. And then eventually you can get injured in it, whatever. There is a great scene that when I showed it to my students, I would show the scene first to show them exactly what I'm talking about in terms of every attempt you make is just going to further make you in chaos. Do you guys know the show Frasier?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a wonderful scene. If you can find this scene, it's when Niles is in Frasier's apartment. He has a date coming over. He's going to make spaghetti. He's getting ready, and everyone else has left the apartment for him. He's great. He turns on the radio and does essentially a Charlie Chaplin routine where he's getting ready. The pasta's cooking, and then he sits down on the couch. He notices he's got something on his pants. He's not happy with his pants. He brings out an ironing board. Now he's pantless. Then the thing bubbles over. He leaves the iron on the pants. So by the end and then it catches on fire. He cuts himself doing something. He faints at the sight of blood. Like he's running around. So by the end of it, it's all to music. So at the end, he's opened the door because it's now all the smoke. He's fanning the door. He sees while he's fanning, the bandaged hand, finger, the Kleenex comes off. He takes a look at the blood and he faints. And that's how it ends, where we know she's going to enter with the alarm going off. His pants are on, like no pants on, fainted in the hallway. And it's hilarious. And that's what audience wants. So exactly. If the scene's going south and you don't feel like the energy is done, or no one's enjoying it, you have to kick it up a notch. And that's either a couple ways. You can fail, which is great. So start finding reasons to fail. Another one that Michael Gellman taught, which is brilliant, is segues. A lot of people don't use segues. In my next book, I will mention segues, where he said, I was in a scene with somebody where it was he just said, all you do is say something you thought about, you personally, David, today. It can be, doesn't even make sense. just throw it in. So when you're having a situation where you're kind of trapped in this scene and you have no idea, I was in a scene with a woman and we are kind of at this odds, and I was on the floor, I was all depressed, and he goes, quick, say something you thought about today. And the girl just said, as I get older, I find that I'm more attracted to balding men. And I went, like, totally bald or all? And it got me off the floor. And then we just started talking about men. It was amazing. And we were like, you thought that today? She goes, yeah, on the bus here. I was thinking, wow, I'm finding balding men as I get older. So those segments are so powerful, and it just infuses this energy back into the scene that was dying.
Absolutely. If something's getting like stuck in a rut, or again a circular conversation, if it's not going anywhere, taking it somewhere completely different. Yeah, absolutely. Just takes it in a new direction. Yeah. Okay, Stephanie. Right. So let's play one more improv game before we wrap things up. You've been fantastic today. Thank you so much for this. Okay. So you're very welcome. Okay. So the improv game I'd like us to play to end on is another monologue-based one. It's a slightly competitive one. We play an extreme monologue, and in an extreme monologue, you're not allowed to repeat any words at all. And also, you're not allowed to hesitate, which means like these kind of filler-in sounds, and also extended pauses. So, Stephanie, I will challenge you to begin this. Now, if I think you've broken either of these rules, that you've repeated a word, I say freeze, and then I will attempt to take over the monologue.
Oh, interesting.
And if I break one of the rules, likewise, and you have to be ruthless, you just call freeze and take over the monologue.
Okay.
And whoever is speaking at the end of 1 minute wins the round.
Ooh, so interesting.
Now, Stephanie, I will let you choose a well-known character from fiction.
For you or for me?
For yourself. We'll
start off. For myself? Yeah. A well-known character from fiction. How about Pollyanna? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a woman.
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, she was a very, very positive. No. Let me think. Fiction, because I'm thinking all men. Which I could play. Why don't I just play a guy?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be Ebenezer Scrooge.
Excellent.
First one that came to mind. Okay,
that's great. Okay. All right. So you are Ebenezer Scrooge.
And now, are you going to be Ebenezer as well, or do you get a completely different?
No, I will try to take over the monologue. So
as Ebenezer, nice. Okay.
Yeah, as Ebenezer.
Your accent will be much better than mine, I'm sure.
Probably not, actually. Like I'm English, but so many people have said to me, like, "Are you Australian or something like this?" And I've never quite understood it. But all of the Australians listening to this will be like, "You don't sound Australian, mate." No, exactly. Okay, so Stephanie, you are Ebenezer Scrooge. Let's say you've lost your money. Ebenezer Scrooge, you have lost your money. You have 1 minute. Take it away.
I have never enjoyed the banking system, but now I wonder if in fact I should have put my money into such establishments as building a brick and iron for my money. I have
repetition of the word I. Sorry, yes.
An I. Ooh, good. Okay,
repetition
take it away.
Of I. Yes, it can be. Okay, so hang on. I'll start the timer, and here I go. My money, Bob Cratchit, is missing. Never have I seen such a disgusting sight as an empty safe. That's definitely a hesitation. I knew I was going to repeat the word I, and I didn't want to repeat the word I, so I hesitated.
Okay.
So there are 25 seconds left on the clock. Okay. Over to you, and here you go.
If the scoundrel is found, I will certainly string the chicken up by his neck. Then gutting him would be a wonderful process of delving into the physicality.
Oh, and that is 1 minute. I felt there was a tiny hesitation at 57 seconds, but I couldn't be that cruel. I couldn't be that cruel. But the thing is, it fit the character so well with the Ebenezer going. Absolutely, fantastic. Have you come across that game before?
No, I have not. That's awesome. I'm
Do you know what?
learning.
I won't take complete credit for that one. We have a radio show in the United Kingdom called Just a Minute, where people have to talk without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. In extreme improv, the way we try to up it a notch is because they will allow repetition of words like I and a and
Sure.
and.
I was thinking in articles, yeah, like you need
Yes,
those.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like when you get the more you get into it, like it's very difficult as a monologue not to
Mhm.
say the word I, but it's all about like
Yes.
techniques. Yeah.
That's great. There's another game, I don't know if you've played it, where it's a dual monologues, where
Ooh,
two people are doing a monologue, different topics at the same time, and you're speaking at the same time, but you have to have an ear open, and then you borrow words from the other person's monologue. It's tons of fun.
that
So you
sounds
could be
really good.
talking about gardening, and I could be talking about dog. No, me and my dogs breeding, like grooming, and you're talking about gardening, and we're talking at the same time. But every once in a while, we'll just borrow each other's word. If I hear you say a word, I'm going to put it in mine, and the audience loves it. They just start laughing because I'm pulling gardening terms, and you're pulling dog terms for gardening, and it's very
Uh,
fun, very challenging.
sounds it.
Women are
Sounds it.
very good at this,
I bet.
talking and listening at the same time.
Men cannot multitask. That's
It's a
a
little hard.
biological fact. Okay, Stephanie, we will wrap things up there. But before we do, couple of things. First of all, can you suggest a character from fiction for the player on the next episode?
Oh, somebody from fiction. Trying to think, and I'm also trying to think of something that everybody would know. How about the Grinch? The Grinch that
The
Stole Christmas. Why
Grinch.
don't we
That's a
Grinch?
perfect one. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so Stephanie, once again, tell us people where they can find out more about yourself and what you're going to be up to if you want to plug anything.
For sure. So for my Instagram, if people want to check me out, I'm at comedian Stephanie Herrera. That's Herrera. On Instagram, I have a Facebook page, Stephanie Herrera, as well. So definitely reach out. My website, if you guys want to watch some crazy videos and things that videos, my voiceovers, all there, stephanieherrera.com. There is a great video if people are not minding the language. I have a great improv bit that was all cut together called Cootie Catcher Outtakes. It's me. It's completely improvised and it's foul and it's amazing. I booked a lot of jobs on that. Yeah, definitely check out the book. And well, there's nothing really going on in the UK that I'm doing as of yet. So
But
nothing really.
this is a podcast, so people can hear about it worldwide. So
Absolutely. So I'm part of my Am I Pretty Now, a musical romp through plastic surgery. One woman musical show is going to be at Scripted Toronto. So anyone in the Ontario area would like to come out, and we have some great people like some celebs from The Simpsons are coming out to do shows and things like
who
really
is that
great.
out of interest?
Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah, Homer Simpson.
He's coming. He's going to be doing a one-person show as well. He's coming out from LA
Amazing.
to do a show, and yeah, so I'm rubbing elbows with some really great people. So if you're in the Toronto area, definitely check out Scripted Toronto. That's happening.
And when is that? Just so.
May 17th is my show, but I think it's from the 7th to the 19th is that festival. It's brand new, and Michael Gelman's wife, Deborah, she has headed this. So Michael will be doing a workshop as well during that festival too. So people should check that out. It'll be tons of fun. I think that's the latest one. Out TV, my Fakias show. I play the mother of this Greek gay kid. It's a very fun, touching story. That's on Out TV. If anyone gets that channel,
Cool.
That's coming out in March, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, my podcast. If anyone's interested, I have a weekly podcast called Eileen and Steph. Everything's fine. Two women, mothers, entertainers talking. Eileen, Eileen, and Steph. Everything's fine, and that's on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, everything. It's on.
Amazing. Okay, just to give a couple of plugs on the Extreme Improv side. So my name is David Pustansky, which, for the benefit of those listening, just like Stephanie, I will spell my surname, which is Pustansky, because people often put an I at the end. And this is Extreme Improv, and you can find all of our social media links by going to our website at www.extremeimprov.co.uk. We have lots of shows coming up. We don't have a show in Canada at the moment, but in about 2 weeks' time at time of recording, on about early March. I forget the exact date, which is really bad of me. We do actually have a show in Florida as part of the Central Florida Improv Festival. We'll be back over stateside, closer to Canada, but not actually in Canada. We'll be in Alaska. For Improv Festival there in the end of April. And over in the UK, we've got a show, the Phoenix Artists Club in London in April, and one in Nottingham in April. They're all on the website, guys. Check out www.extremeimprov.co.uk. I think that's about all the plugs. Oh yeah, this podcast, Extreme Improv Podcast, if you're listening to it, hopefully you'll click that subscribe. It's available on iTunes, Google Play, but only in America, strangely. You can't get it in the UK. We had to launch it out there whilst we were out there last year. Podbean, we are on Podbean, good old Podbean. Spotify and the like. Stephanie, you've been fantastic today. So
thank you for having me, David. Anytime, and I would love to try to get up with more improvisers if you're looking. Definitely, Michael Gelman. We got to get him on your show. Oh my God,
do it. I'd love to. Have get him on the show. You and him on the show. You again on the show. You're very welcome back on the show anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure. We can play lots more. We keep introducing each other to new improv games, which is great.
Yeah, love it.
Okay. Any final thought you'd like to give people?
Anybody who hasn't done it, do it more, and try something different. Challenge yourself. If you can get a scene where you can pull up somebody from the audience who's never improvised, challenge yourself. You'll be a better improviser if you take the scene. If you're the one.
Couldn't have put it better myself. So until next time, guys. Thank you very much.